Once you've picked your blackberries and your elderberries, it's time to weigh them and then get them into your Tefal VitaFruit. On this occasion I put just slightly over a kilogram of blackberries, but I'm going to add to that, I'm going to break these off the bunches of the elderberries, and this really does improve the flavour. I found I've made some just pure blackberry jam, and when I've added the elderberries, that people have noticed quite a difference. I've kept the elderberries separate here. They won't keep too long. I mean, they are quite ripe, these ones here. I've only picked most of the right ones. There's a few unripe ones, but most just pick the right ones. So basically I'll then add a kilo of sugar, and I'm not going to have it on a pre-cooking. It'll go straight into the jam making mode, and basically it's to test it and see how. You will need a kilo of sugar, and you put your Tefal VitaFruit onto program 4. I set it first for 20 minutes and the paddle is in, so I'll add my sugar, and I'm only going to try putting 150 mils. I put plenty of elderberries on top here, about 5 to 6 bunches. It's near full, but this will reduce down as it goes along, and of course you'll then also have to. Once the Tefal VitaFruit starts going, you'll see the paddles working their way back and forward there. You can give it a helping hand. I would recommend using a plastic potato masher. Of course, the Tefal VitaFruit does come with its own sort of ladle. You've got to be gentle because a lining, of course, with this non-stick lining, you don't want to be scraping it with anything metallic. And I find this so basically you can, as it's mixing, I'll give it a bit of a hand and crush it down. I've mixed the sugar in, and now that makes it a lot easier for the VitaFruit. As you can see, the paddles are able to work their way around, and I'll carry on doing so. And don't want to totally crush the fruit, but it's basically a question of mixing the sugar in thoroughly, which will help with the cooking process. And as for the water, I added 150 mils of water. From the 2 sets of blackberry and elderberry that I collected on the day, I was able to make 7 jars of jam, and of course you can improvise. This larger jar here originally came with little candles inside it, but it's perfect. It's been heat resistant, like a sort of a hurricane lantern. Some of the jars I might have lids on, and I tend to put a double layer of cling film on them. Some of these didn't quite fully set. If you see this particular jar here, when I pour it like that, you can see it does move slightly, so probably slightly more of a compote than a jam. There you go, towards the end. And I am looking into whether or not, if you wanted to, you could reheat and maybe chop up some Bramley apples and add them, but I think I'll just see how they go. And the elderberry gives them a very rich, dark ruby colour, which you can really sort of appreciate when you see them, like this one here, which was in the hurricane lantern style jar. So I made 7 out total, and probably that was probably about 2.2 kilograms of blackberries, probably about 20 little bunches of elderberries. I did discover with my second batch I didn't add any water at all to it, so I had about 1.1 kilograms of blackberries, about 6 bunches of elderberries, just under a kilogram of sugar, but no water added. Probably because being at the very end of August, beginning of September now, the fruit is in. Rain or shine, make sure you get your blackberries in time to make your blackberry and elderberry jam. Nice little selection growing there, as you can see. Not such a beautiful day though. Typical bank holiday weather here in the UK. But as soon as it clears, perfect for blackberrying. Enjoy making your blackberry jam. I decided to grow my blackberries just at the back of where I've got my rhubarb, and basically I transplanted some from my own garden, also some that were growing wild at the back of the allotment tend. So basically it's a question of coming along and finding out when they're fresh and ready to be picked, and there they are. So far I've picked this many, and I just keep cropping them regularly to make sure that I've got enough for my supplies for making jam. I tend to find that they do produce lots of spurs, and I tend to cut the spurs off and then cut them back quite a bit, and they'll then crop regularly every year. I do feed them as well with plenty of fertilizer. If you want to improve the setting of your blackberry jam, it's late in the season for blackberries. For me, it's 1st September tomorrow, and already the blackberries have been rained on very heavily. Picked some today, and these are very well ripe. What I've done, cooked these now for 20 minutes, and I added, these are some spare ones, but I added actually 3 large Bramleys. I peeled them, cored them, chopped them, microwaved them for a couple of minutes, crushed them slightly, added no extra water to this, and after 20 minutes this jam is setting fast. So there's a way around it with a Tefal VitaFruit. If you're basically going to use program 4 for 20 minutes. I don't need to put any more time because the pectin in these Bramleys, red Bramleys that I've grown myself on the allotment, is enough to accelerate the setting. You can also mix jam so that you have a variety of jams in an autumn collection. Here on program 4, for just 20 minutes on the Tefal VitaFruit, I'm making a mixture. It's mostly blackberry, but in order to get some pectin involved, I've got tayberries from the allotment and some apples, they're windfall apples from a hedgerow, from a walk, and I've put in, the whole total weight of this comes to just under 1 kilo, so I've matched it with just under 1 kilo, 800 grams of sugar. I shall stir it in, but I've not added any water at all to this one as an experiment to see if it sets better. If after 20 minutes it hasn't set, I put the program on for another 7 minutes, it's beeped, and what I've done basically is then gone around with a small little sharp knife, careful not to shape off, to try and, don't want to scrape the Teflon lining, and basically just chop the apple as much as I can, and then I'm going to give this another 10 minutes at the moment. Viscosity wise it's nearly there. You're looking to see whether it would set in 2 minutes, and I'm not quite, so I'll give it another 10. I gently go around the sides as well, and anything that's around there I'll mix it back in with a more viscous nature that is on the side of it. So I'll give this another 10 minutes. So it's basically tayberry, blackberry, and apple and plum, like a early autumn. Once the jam's finished on the program, this one in total has had close to 40 minutes. You then pour it I put it into a Pyrex bowl. The handles here are cool, so they can be handled, but beware the jam can reach about 104 degrees centigrade. And I've got about 3 or 4 jam jars. This one here I imagine will probably do about 3 jam jars. The first one's a large one, probably takes about 600 to 700 grams. So that's the early autumn